Hi, I'm Dr. Joseph Baffa, a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'd like to thank you for taking an interest in our program. I and the team that I've worked with have talked to hundreds of veterans who've told us about their experience with suicidal thoughts that come and go throughout their life. We made this program to help people like them live a meaningful life while learning to manage suicidal thoughts and urges, and we hope that it will help you do the same.
Two years ago was probably the hardest year of my life. I was hired by a company out of college, but it went under 3 months after I started. Meanwhile, I lost my mother to cancer, and my relationship of 4 years was falling apart. Although I managed to go through the motions of daily life and probably looked okay, I was consumed by anxiety and depression. I started to have thoughts of self harm and suicide, which really upset me because I didn't know exactly where they were coming from. To make matters worse, the more I let the thoughts bother me or tried not to think about it, the more they kept popping up. I felt like I had no control over my own mind, which made me afraid that if I couldn't control my thoughts, it was only a matter of time until I lost control and acted on one of those suicidal urges. I was so desperate for a solution, but had no idea what to do. I just felt trapped by these thoughts that wouldn't go away, and I started to believe there was no hope of getting better. Looking back on that year, I realized I was just overloaded with stress. Stress from my relationship, stress about work, stress from all the thoughts of anxiety, depression, and suicide that I felt I couldn't escape. I became so focused on the need to escape that I basically forgot all the things I knew to be useful for coping with stress, anxiety, depression, and my thoughts of suicide. The information that you'll find in this program is very similar to the knowledge and strategies that eventually helped me change the way I view my suicidal thoughts and to cope with all the negative feelings that come with thinking about suicide.
The information in our program is based on years of scientific research into how people choose to deal with their suicidal thoughts. We will cover why experts think that people like Gabe, in the previous video, begin to think about taking their own life. We will also present advice from leading suicide prevention experts about things that do and do not help when you're having thoughts about suicide or suicidal urges. As a brief preview, here are 3 important things that we hope you will learn. Suicidal thoughts are more common among veterans than you would think, because they're actually just one of the ways that our brain responds to stress. Suicidal thoughts can be uncomfortable, so it's natural to want to get rid of them. But because of the way that the brain works, it's unreasonable to expect yourself to never have another suicidal thought. Since science hasn't found any way of controlling all of our thoughts forever, the best thing that you can do is respond to suicidal thoughts in ways that empower you to live a life of value despite them. Throughout this program, you will learn and practice proven strategies to make helpful decisions about what happens when your brain gives you another suicidal thought. Let's get started. Suicidal thoughts look different for everyone. Sometimes we have them quietly in our head, like any other thought. Sometimes we hear them aloud, like someone else is telling us we should kill ourselves. Some people have intrusive images flash in their minds of them using whatever object they see in front of them. Others spend a lot of time imagining what it would be like to take their own life, or how their friends and family would react if they did. No matter the content, suicidal thoughts can be confusing, bothersome, unwanted, and sometimes scary. The less that veterans understand about why they're having suicidal thoughts, the more these things tend to be true. We've also found that the more that veterans learn about why they're having suicidal thoughts, the better they tend to feel about being able to manage them and what happens when they have them. In this section, we will explain why thoughts about suicide occur and aim to correct some common myths about what they mean. Our hope is that once you're armed with this information, you'll feel capable and prepared to manage the way you feel when you're having thoughts of suicide. When you have thoughts about suicide, they may sound something like, "These thoughts aren't normal. I can't let other people know about this. They'll think I'm crazy. I shouldn't be having these thoughts. Something must be wrong with me. I must really want to die. There must be nothing left to live for." One thing you may not realize about these types of thoughts is just how many other veterans are also having them. 2 separate studies which together included nearly 20,000 veterans, have found that roughly 25% of those veterans had thoughts about suicide at least one time in their life. That's nearly 1 in every 4 veterans. With over 16 million veterans in the United States, that means there's over 4 million that have thought about suicide at some point in their life. That's nearly the same number of people who live in the entire state of Louisiana. Why are thoughts about suicide so common? It might help to start thinking about where they come from. Your brain. We like to think of the brain as a problem-solving machine. Your brain is designed to help you avoid things that are painful or dangerous. For instance, if you see a bear in the woods, your brain will probably tell you to run away. When you're feeling overwhelmed by problems in life, mental stress can also become painful and dangerous in its own way. Your brain wants to help you avoid mental pain, just like it would want to help you avoid physical pain. In an effort to be helpful when you're overwhelmed by stress, your brain will start coming up with solutions to avoid mental pain. Sometimes the solution that the machine comes up with are useful. For instance, you may notice that you're having another pain flare-up, and your back really hurts. Your problem-solving brain might come up with a helpful suggestion, remembering that you forgot to take your pain medication. Other times, the solution may be less helpful, or even harmful. For instance, if you notice your back hurting, and your problem-solving brain isn't quite able to offer up something helpful, like remembering your medication, it may just jump to thinking, what's the use? I can't do anything when I'm in this much pain. I should just give up on the day and start drinking. The more overwhelmed you become by stress, the more severe the solutions become. The problem-solving brain starts to look for other ways to escape, maybe even for good. That might be when you start having thoughts that sound like, I hope I don't wake up tomorrow. I wish I were dead. I want to kill myself. I should get it over with and do it already. I wonder how I could. You may notice your brain giving you thoughts like this, even if you don't like them. And that's okay. You don't have to. It may be helpful to start calling these out for what they are: unhelpful solutions from your problem-solving brain, trying to avoid feeling overwhelmed by the stress of day-to-day life.